Tiffany Cloud. Welcome to the Storm Politics Lightning Bolt Awards for 2012. On this show, I want to acknowledge members of our community for making an impact in local politics, especially many new faces. I may agree or disagree with the politics of some on the list, but what they all share in common is that their voices are strong and they truly believe in the responsibility of people in the democratic process. After the break, I will count down the 9 runners-up for this year's Lightning Bolt Award and the winner I have selected for 2012. We'll be right back, only on WYLN. Welcome back to the Storm Politics Lightning Bolt Awards for 2012. Okay, we're going to get started. Number 10, Jen RINEHIMER. A member of the Luzerne County Young Republicans, Jen RINEHIMER recently impressed me when she came on my show this year to discuss the real war on women, that being waged upon conservative women. RINEHIMER also wrote one of the more captivating letters to the editor run over the year, in my opinion, regarding the next generation of political conservatives. A doctor, political junkie, and voice for conservative values, RINEHIMER is definitely a name to watch in politics in the future. If the county GOP is smart, and hear me clearly, this woman will be on your radar as a great potential candidate for future office. Number 9, the bloggers. Gort42 and Dave Yonkai Lulak's political letter. Well, I do not understand why anyone would push the liberal agenda in these economic times. The fact is, Obama won the election. Local liberal politicians Cartwright and Monday were both reelected, in large part due to the bloggers in this area, particularly 2 of the most widely followed, the blogmasters of Gort42 and the Lulak political letter. Now, conservatives, wake up! You need to get more people blogging locally and do a much better job marketing those blogs. Until then, you're being outsmarted by these 2 lovers of the left. While I don't officially have them on the list, I do want to acknowledge 2 young new faces in politics who bravely took on the task of running for office for the first time against far more seasoned, entrenched political opponents. Jeff Cassatt ran for Hazleton mayor, and Aaron Coffer ran for state representative. And while you did not win your races, you each had huge followings and excited many in the next generation about politics. Suspect both of you will be stirring things up for quite some time to come. Speaking of stirring it up, it leads us to number 8, Booty BELTRAMI. If you think Joe Biden says what he means and means what he says, well, you never met Booty BELTRAMI. The longtime resident of southern Luzerne County, Booty's is the place candidates in southern Luzerne go. His restaurant has hosted events for so many running for office. BELTRAMI wrote some of the most explosive letters to the editor to run in the Standard Speaker in 2012. My favorite was the one about the parking garage. The portion that caught my attention and created quite a stir in Greater Hazleton went something like this, and I quote, "Why do we need yet another parking garage in downtown Hazleton? Is the goal to have a companion for the usually half-empty parking garage already downtown? Will the imaginary cars be parking there so the imaginary drivers can go visit the imaginary booming downtown industry? Those on council need to park their egos. Maybe that's what they could do with their stupid garage." End quote. BELTRAMI has formed a concerned citizens group interested in ending wasteful spending and excessive taxation upon the taxpayers. The lesson here, my friends, is that you don't have to be in your 20s to still create an uproar in politics. Everyone from every generation can make an impact. Just have some intestinal fortitude. Number 7, Matt Cartwright. Longtime Wilkes-Barre attorney Matt Cartwright is heading to Washington as a newly elected congressman. Not only did he defeat longtime Congressman Tim Holden in a primary, he then defeated Scranton Tea Party founder Laureen Cummings in the general election. Cartwright attended Hamilton College, just down the road from my alma mater, Colgate University. And even though we got our educations near one another, our politics couldn't be more different. Hopefully, Cartwright will represent the interests of his constituents and not fall in lockstep with the party line. Hopefully, Cartwright will be a politician in Washington truly there to make a difference versus create a career. He is definitely a bright man and a kind family man. He has conducted his campaign with grace, avoiding mudslinging at his opponent, and she did the same towards him. I wish him well as he steps into this important role representing we the people. I'm not so sure we need another attorney in Washington, D.C., but I do hope Matt Cartwright is a great congressman for our area. Number 6, TARAH TOOHIL. Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, one has to acknowledge that TOOHIL's re-election bid was fraught with ugliness. YouTube videos bringing out her behavior from her youth, accusations of spending taxpayer money on trips, questions about whether campaign messages were done outside legislative time or not. All of this arose. But despite the aggressive attacks against her, some from parties still to be publicly identified, TOOHIL rose out of it, delivering a crushing defeat of her Democratic rival Ransom Young. Resilience is something any politician needs, and certainly something Representative TOOHIL has displayed. And for the record, if she could help lower PA's corporate tax rate so we can encourage businesses to actually come to our state, and if she could do some property tax reform, she will make me very happy in 2013. We will continue with the 2012 Lightning Bolt Awards right here on Storm Politics after the break. Welcome back to the Storm Politics Lightning Bolt Awards for 2012. I am counting down the top 10 people I believe made an impact locally in politics. We're at number 5, folks, Casey Evans. Vice President of the Luzerne County Young Democrats, Casey Evans and his liberally charged Facebook posts drove me insane as a conservative throughout all of 2012. However, I must hand it to Casey. He's a true advocate for the liberal agenda, and whether one agrees with that agenda or not, he delivers their message with passion. Casey is also an advocate for gay and lesbian rights, and as any PA is probably not the most progressive area in America in this regard, the fact that he is so boldly stands for this movement is certainly worthy of acknowledgement. He loves Hillary Clinton, and if she makes a run in 2016, despite the fact that the Benghazi scandal should ruin any politician, quite frankly, I guarantee Casey Evans will be among the people out there supporting Hillary in force. Casey, I adore you, but in 4 years, I want to see you fail. Obama's re-election is about all I can take. Number 4, Ray Harker, founder of God in Government. Ray Harker has proven to be a force in southern Luzerne for conservative values. He put together the first ever conservative voter rally in Hazleton with a full slate of speakers and sponsors. He's worked diligently to ensure we all remember that God was part of the founding of our nation. Ray, thank you for reminding all of us in southern Luzerne that we are one nation under God. Number 3, Stephanie Salavantis. Becoming the youngest ever elected DA in our state's history, 2012 marks Salavantis' first year serving as Luzerne County District Attorney. In her first year in office, she has knocked it out of the park. First, she achieved 3 consecutive first-degree murder convictions. That is a rare feat. Second, she completely restructured the DA's office to make it run more efficiently by specializing the office into 7 divisions to use the legal expertise of her ADAs more wisely. Third, she started a gang intelligence unit within the DA office for all municipalities to communicate with. This unit also works to educate the community about gang awareness. And related, Salavantis was one of the main people who formed the recently developed Hazleton Area School District Gang Task Force. Fourth, she dedicated one of her detectives specifically to Hazleton, to southern Luzerne, a dedicated detective being something we didn't have in the previous administration. That didn't mean an extra body. To the contrary, Despite deep budget cuts to the DA's office in the face of a 33% reported county-wide crime rate increase, she found a way to take her trim resources and give Greater Hazleton the focus that was the promise of her campaign. She will be a guest on my show in early 2013 to discuss future initiatives her office is working on to serve the county and specifically meet the promises made to those of Greater Hazleton. Number 2, tied, Bob Zaruta and Thomas Shabila, president of the Luzerne County Young Republicans and the Young Democrats respectively. These two young men are spitfires. They have each revitalized the youth vote and activism in our county. They have each supported successful local campaigns. They have debated the issues with class, appearing on my show together on more than one occasion. In fact, they were my very first guests on Storm Politics, because 2 years ago, I could see these men were special and the future of the party for this area. I look forward to watching them for many more years to come. Now, before I share my number 1 choice, I do want to acknowledge the re-election of Congressman Lou Barletta, my congressman, and thank him for all the work he has done for our veterans. When I went to see the movie Lincoln recently, I was pleased to see Congressman Barletta in the theater as well. It is good to remember history and all our country has fought to attain. It is good for a congressman to take the time to be reminded that our nation at one point was nearly split in two. And I hope he and other members of Congress will be able to find some common ground in budget negotiations for the sake of our nation. And by common ground, I mean that the Democrats should stop raising taxes and spending our money like it's going out of style. Okay, after the break, my number 1 choice, the winner of the 2012 Lightning Bolt Awards. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Storm Politics and my number 1 selection for the 2012 Lightning Bolt Award. The person who has made an impact worthy of acknowledgement above all others. Number 1, YASUE Bengali. YASUE was born in Japan. She became a citizen of the United States in the second half of 2012. More than anyone I have met in my life, YASUE truly understands the responsibility that comes with being an American. She homeschools her children and makes teaching them American history and civics a top priority. She is a legal immigrant to our country, to the city of Hazleton, who has written many letters to the editor, hosted an amazing lemonade stand event standing up against excessive government regulation and raising money for wounded warriors. This woman, who works as a waitress, gives me the chills when she speaks about America, American values, and the direction our country is heading. I can't do her justice, in fact. So I wish to close the show with the audience hearing YASUE Bengali in her own words. My selection for the 2012 Storm Politics Lightning Bolt Award, a new, proud American citizen, YASUE Bengali.
First time I came to the United States when I was 17 years old. It was by chance. My family member, friends of family, I had the group of students from Tokyo to send it to Fremont. It's a town in Fremont, right outside of San Francisco in California, as an exchange student program. And I decided to join and see what it's like. And I stayed with a host family for 3 weeks. And that was the first time I came to the United States.
What were your first thoughts upon coming to the country? What did you think about that area of the country?
How big things were, how open things were, but mostly how they can talk about things. They can just embrace people on the street. They can tell each other how much they love each other, just right there, which we couldn't really do, or we don't do much in Japan. We are more guarded, or we don't really, my parents never really told me how much they love me. We are trying to show certain loves and affection through action, but not verbally. But always, as a child, I wanted to say those things. Mm-hmm. And when I came to the United States, it was okay.
It's interesting you say that, because I've lived in a foreign country. I lived in Australia for 2 years, and I remember always hearing the Aussies say that we're a very boisterous people. I mean, sometimes they actually think it's a bit much how verbal we are, but that's actually something that you liked about this country.
Because I was more of a strict area where certain things that we cannot talk about, there are certain things that you cannot do, maybe by the law or by culture. And when I came to the United States, I said, the possibilities are endless.
Now, why did you choose the United States as opposed to doing an exchange program somewhere else?
I could have gone to Australia. I had opportunity to go. I could have gone to England. I could have gone to even Hawaii or Canada. But that 3 weeks of stay that I had when I was 17, and that impact, the culture, the people who welcomed me, I was a stranger in their house, but they welcomed me, and I was the member of the family. And they took me to their church. They took me to the community barbecue parties, how they were united. They were so together. And I just fell in love about how America was. So that just, the decision was just came to me. It was not more of me deciding. Mm-hmm. I sometimes feel like America chose me to come here.
And you, when you obviously, you lived in Japan for a long time, almost 2 decades. Did you see that the way that the world was evolving, that it would be an important move to come to America?
It was the things that my father always taught me ever since I was a child. How information is going to be the power. How the global business is going to be the key. It is not going to be the localized business, but it is going to be the global because of the information era. So my father says, stay in this tiny little island, excuse me, that you're limiting your potential. You're limiting your potential of understanding. You have to be in the middle of the global everything. You have to be able to see something outside your box.
Mm-hmm. That was great advice from your dad.
Yes, it was.
It's great advice.
Yes.
Now, you came here the first time, obviously, as a student, but then when did you actually, and had a student visa, I imagine, when did you begin the process of legally becoming a legal immigrant to the country? I know you married an American man.
Yes.
When did you go about that process?
After 4 years of school in California, I went back to Japan, and my parents were sick, and I had to go back. My fiance, my husband, or my fiance at the time, he came to Japan with, followed me, and we got married in Japan. So we submitted our wedding marriage certificate to not only Japanese government, but also American embassy, and we had to go through a lot of paperwork again in Japan. We decided to raise our children in the United States, and we moved here, but I was clueless. I was clueless of what I need to do. I just simply thought, I'm married to this man, to an American man.
So I must be American,
okay.
Right,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Yes, it's not quite that easy.
But no, not at all, not at all. And I did study quite a bit about, and we started taking a process, and it took us over 2 years to go through the entire process. And of course, we did have interviews. We went to Philadelphia for the interview as well, but we were back and forth with the lawyers, the legal papers from Japan, everything. It took us a lot.
So you're currently a permanent resident,
Yes.
which obviously as a permanent resident, you have pretty much every right that an American citizen has, except of course the right to vote. So do you think you're going to become?
I am definitely going to become an American citizen. I am studying American citizen test. It talks about Constitution. It talks about American history. I'm learning the law. I have to. It took me a long time to decide to become an American, but I became very involved with how this country is changing and literally transformed inside out. And I became very frightened for my children. And I had to become involved. I learned, I never liked watching news. I never liked reading newspaper, but I became very involved in, not particularly activist. I was never an activist, but I started to study on my own. I tried to self-educate what America is about from the Founding Fathers era to what it's now, because I believe that it is my responsibility to leave the legacy of what the true core of the value of America is to my children as a mother. Everything means so much to me because I choose. In Japan, you inherit the culture. You inherit. You are there, now you must receive what it is. But immigrants like ourselves, we choose to be here. We want to embrace the value, the core value of American spirit, which is, it is about the God-given rights, but also it goes with the responsibilities as well. We talk about the rights. I have the right to do such. But we stop talking about our responsibility as a mother, as a community member, as a church member. What happened to the responsibility? And I see it a lot. And I have to make sure that my children understand, before you voice and ask of rights, you have to deliver your responsibility as well. Recently, we just went to Lancaster and visit the Amish country, and how the original, we look back in American history and why they came to United States. Again, they came there for freedom. Freedom from the religion, freedom of their lifestyle, their values. This was the only country they could have done so. And that's why they came. And I was so excited for my children to see.
If you can give those of us who have only known the American perspective a bit of advice, what would be the advice you'd give to us?
Oh my. I think you should really learn American history. There are quite things, it's incredible how history are changed, not only changed, erased. I was stunned when I asked a teenager who Frederick Douglass was. He says, who? It is an incredible African American who was a slave, and he escaped from the slavery, and he became the advisor and also the advocate of civil rights, while the Lincoln was trying to bring the peace after the Civil War. If it wasn't for Frederick Douglass, Lincoln would have never succeeded, which I believe. But we must really look back and learn the history in both sides. Every book that you can pick. Because if you don't learn the history, you will never understand the future.
YASUE Bengali, who doesn't think about it or talk about it, she does something about it. Folks, I wish you all the best in 2013. Happy New Year.